Hey, welcome to Backyard Bows. Today we have another prime in house. We have the Ronan, which is a brand new bow to prime this year, which we'll get into in just a second. I want to touch on two things before we get started. One, a reminder to anybody who's new or somebody who just needs to hear this, that all of the perspectives that I give in this review process are for one draw length and one draw weight. So every 5 to 8 pounds of draw weight fluctuation and every inch, let's say, of draw length, the same bow, same cam systems is going to feel drastically different. For the sake of the test and that I'm doing it, I'm shooting everything at the exact same. So if I give a perspective of a bow, just remember it could feel different to you. So I always recommend, like, don't watch a review and go buy a bow. Watch a review, gain some information, and then have something to compare to and kind of bounce off of when you go test the bow. But everybody should always be testing and shooting the bow, because it could very well, you could pick up, let's say the SR, the Core SR from last week, you could pick it up, throw it on that performance side of the mod, and it could feel very different to you than what I explained, and that because you could be 26.5 draw and you shoot at 60 pounds. So just keep that in mind. Second, I think that there has been this huge gap in the market that I have noticed for the longest time. And I think prime with the Ronan, it was just so obvious it was there, this huge gap. And I think somebody noticed it. And they said, hey, what we're gonna do is we're not gonna cut any corners. We're gonna put out, quality-wise, a flagship type bow. We're gonna figure out a way to cut the cost, and we're gonna give it to people at an affordable price. Performance will be a whole nother thing that we'll kind of test here throughout the day. But when they first called me and said, hey, we're gonna send you the Ronan, this is what we did, this is our pitch, my first thought was, I'm gonna find where you cut the corners. And then I get it in-house, and sure enough, very impressed. Right from the bat, there's almost everything on it, technology and quality-wise, is of a flagship bow and of their flagship bows. And I honestly, there's only one place that I thought, man, this varies a lot. This might be where they were able to save some money. And then I have another theory as well. We'll talk about that in just a second. So we have the Ronan. Okay, they came out with just, and usually prime fashion, they'll come out with a bow and they'll do it the axle to axle lengths and the riser size at 3 different sizes. With the Ronan, they just did one, which makes sense, and that probably helped cut the cost down too. So we got a 34-inch axle to axle, a 6.25-inch brace height, which is gonna play into effect. It does get some really nice speeds, which is 342 on the IBO, which is humming, especially for a 34-inch axle to axle bow. So I love that. And then you have 26 out to 30.5, that's a set mod. It's not a rotating mod, so whatever you order it to, or whatever you get, you're gonna get one draw length, and you gotta buy a new mod to change that draw length. Which again, we talked about it in the RVX. I love that. You're getting peak performance at every single draw length. Then you have a 50, 60, and 70 pound option. Okay, so again, the entire bow is the exact same. The cable guard, string stop, dampening systems, the limbs, limb pockets, the easy tune system, and the core cam are all on this bow, which was everything that they put on their flagship bow from this year and last year. Even the grip. The whole bow is of flagship quality. The riser, it doesn't have that bottom bend in it. These prime risers want to kind of have this S shape, which kind of plays into that stability. This has one at the top, but not one at the bottom. You can tell that it might be made from a little bit different material, or the finish on it is different, but somewhere in the riser, I think they were able to bring down the cost. Another thing that I thought was, man, maybe they just realized, hey, there's such a huge inflation in price with the bows, that we have wiggle room to just lower the price without taking some of this away. And maybe they kind of weighed the option of, like, this might be worth it. Let's just give it to them at a lesser price, because there is a huge gap of profit on these flagship bows, especially where the price is where they're going now. The Core SR from last week, $1,400. That's a lot of money. So this comes in right at 840 bucks. So let's talk, before we do our single shot session, let's talk about a couple features. One, the grips on these, I absolutely love. So they're called a nano grip, and what they have is they have some kind of gel liner between the metal and the outside grip. It's going to prevent that grip from getting ice cold in sub temperatures. I also love the placement of the grip. They call it center grip technology, but as you can see, and if you haven't seen any of these primes, that grip is a lot higher on the bow, directly in the middle. And like I've said before, it's a little bit different at the beginning, but I think it plays a huge effect in the stability, especially not adding a back bar stabilizer. You have a lot underneath your grip. I think they set up really nicely. It's grown on me. I love it more and more. I'm using the RVX in the field. I shot 2 does the other night, dropped both of them in its place. I set up and shot within a 5-second window. Both of them set up quickly, nice. I love the stability of them. Even at a 32-inch axle-to-axle bow like the RVX, the way it shoots to me is just so crisp. I love the center grip. It's growing on me more and more. So you don't have that Picatinny rail, you don't have the integrated rest spot on the back, you only have one burger hole for your rest. So again, it's all on the riser that you're gonna see some of this, I think, price reduction. On the back, it does have that bored out hole for that tight spot quiver to be mounted onto the side. It has the same cable guard, the same string stop. I got one of those Vulcan Pro Quattro stabilizers on here. I love this new color. They have gray. They also have that G fade option for those flagship bows, which is just, I'm telling you, I love it. It is just the cleanest fade from camo to a solid, super cool. And then they have these core cams on here, which again, I love these. I think they're some of the smoothest drawing bows. Somebody said the other day that, you know, the RVX maybe wasn't as fast as advertised, and that's why it had a smooth pull. It's like, yeah, of course, that is the give and take that you're gonna make, and that's kind of what I'm looking for. You got 280 feet per second with a 470 something grain arrow. That to me is butter. The draw on that is amazing. The hold is good. That's what I'm looking for. And that's fine speeds for me. Somebody said that is insanely slow. And I honestly, I almost couldn't comment, because it's like, well, if you have any idea of archery history and kind of just the past 20 years, you would realize that's not insanely slow. That is a perfect speed. I mean, for almost all hunting scenarios. I mean, 280 feet per second is on the money. I think this one could be a hair quicker, especially from the IBO rating. We'll see. But let's go ahead. Let's shoot one. Let's shoot a couple in here, and then we'll go outside and we'll really get after it. I think with this bow, we have talked about almost everything on these last three prime bows. This one is, to me, is just going to be about performance. If you're going to spend the money, we know you're going to get the quality. How is it going to perform for you? I think the 34-inch axle-to-axle is going to help play into the stability, kind of countering some of these speeds and that smaller brace height that it has. Oh, man. Little vibration in your hand, little stiff at the beginning. We talk about this. I'm okay with that. It does ease up right about halfway. That really eases up nicely and kind of glides back into your back wall. Very linear. That stiffness in the beginning has to come from the speeds, which is fine. But, you know, it's a little stiff, and then right there, it just flows right back. I love that. Little vibration in your hand. I think this bow, with a longer axle-to-axle, I think it's going to set up awesome. I love the center grip on a 34-inch axle-to-axle bow. Makes it kind of feel like you're hunting with a shorter axle-to-axle bow, but you're getting a little bit more stability. So, So again, you can't deny the gap in the market. You had all of these really inexpensive bows that were very inexpensively made. I love that Prime kind of just noticed it. They were like, God, we can just make a really well-made bow, and we're just going to give it to them at a good price. Which is just them acknowledging that the majority of hunters and people in the field and archers, this is our price range. This is right in there. This is still a lot of money. It's a good investment, but it's not gonna kill us. Okay, it's not gonna break the bank, but it's just what we wanna spend. It's like that max, everybody looks for $1,000, but nowadays it's as hard as you can get to find any setup for under $1,000, okay? You really gotta put some effort into what you're doing, how you're shopping, what you're gonna use. You can do it, but it's not easy. Especially if you're somebody who likes really well-made things. I love quality, and I will pay for it. Okay, if I know it's an ROI purchase, if I'm gonna get a return on my investment. This bow is a flagship bow. We're gonna categorize it in the budget bow. Sorry, Prime. I know they asked me not to categorize it with the budget bows, but we're going to because it's under $1,000. But I mean, this is one of the best budget style bows that you can get. I'm excited to go shoot it. there's no doubt in my mind this thing is going to perform very well. It's crisp. It's crisp. Let's get outside and sling some. All right, on to the fun part. Days like today, I can shoot all day. This one is so, that draw cycle is so clean. I'm gonna be able to rep this one out a lot. I think I'm most excited about the speed test with this. I think if it comes close to that, that is, you know, for that draw cycle to be as clean as it is, the hold as nice as it kind of seems to be inside, we'll see here. But those are some awesome speeds that this thing is getting. So we'll go bore at 25, bucks at 30. I mean, the hold is nice. It's very nice. That longer axle I think plays in that. I love the center grip, the technology that goes into the cams. Let's go kicking buck at 30. This is just, some bows you feel, it's like you feel more comfortable going for that hard shot instead of going center mass. It's like you feel like in control. Man, just 2 shots. Some bows they're just, it's nice. You know, and I don't think Prime thought like, hey, how do we cut? I think they just said, hey, let's just give back. I feel like that's kind of where they're at. It's like, hey, let's provide a bow for people that's with great quality. We take a cut. You know, I think that's where they're at. Unless the margins are so drastically different than what I'm thinking in my head. I think Bowtech, I think Prime just realized we'll take a little bit of a cut, but we'll give the people, the Prime lovers, something that they can purchase and get a good price on. I love that. I love that, because if you're interested in Prime, but you don't have the money for a flagship bow, I think Quest is closed. I don't think they're going to make the Quest Syntex, which was kind of their, you know, budget bow company under them, their sister company. I think this is a great option. All right, let's go shoot some longer range. So from the gazebo, we have tons of different 3D options going from 20 up to 50. We'll shoot at them all. We'll kind of go from we'll just work our way right up that ladder. That's my favorite way to do this. Going from one target to the next. We'll start with the turkey at 20. You know, some bows are just pleasant to shoot. You like enjoy shooting them. You can see yourself shooting them a lot for a long amount of time. Like the full draw stall doesn't faze me. I'm not like not looking forward to that. Some bows you get up here and you're like, oh, I don't want to do that. This is just, it's pleasant to shoot. I think the icing on top is just the price. But you can sit here and absolutely, control comes to mind, which control is just another way to say the bow is stable and it's working with you and not against you. They call it shootability, which is a made up word. Let's go buck at 30. Very quickly, it sets up very quickly. The pens die down almost immediately. Gray Wolf at 35. Now we'll go Black Bear at 40. First shots, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. Some bows are just a breeze. They're just, I'm excited to see the speed, because if the speed is what it is, comparatively to the Core SR from last week, night and day. All right, if you really want to see the stability, full draw stall. Okay, so just set up, try to be as still as you possibly can. No movement. Try to dial those pens in the entire time. Really pay attention to the pens. Okay? They will almost immediately within 10 seconds, you will start seeing some instability, or you will feel more comfortable. It kind of sits and locks in. It's almost undeniable with a full draw stall. 60 seconds, maybe 90. We'll do 60, little black bear. So it does want to jump a little bit on you. You can kind of start feeling those cams want to come back. It almost happened kind of immediately. It just, you know, it kind of wants to roll. And you can kind of feel those pulsating kind of jumps forward. I think the bow naturally is very, very stable and easy to shoot. The longer you hold that, the more aggressive it kind of got and wanting to pull forward on you. Let's do one more. We're gonna throw in a shot we don't really throw in there much. We'll go 45-yard, quartering to me buckshot. So, spoiler alert, when we do I was waiting to put out the video until I reviewed this because I thought it was important to get this one in there. And sure enough, it's obviously going to be in the top 5 budget bow video we release here soon. Where it lands, that's a different story because it is on the higher side of the budget bows. But I would say if you were teetering, let's say you're interested in buying a $600 bow, if I was you, I think it would be a very good decision to save up a little bit more money and purchase something of this quality. I mean, this is their advertisement of the best bow under $1,000. I think for all around, considering every category that we judge in, they're on the money. Let's go elk at 50. Heart, unbelievable. Now again, I wouldn't want to get this thing in a full draw situation, which all kind of just depends on your shot IQ and your field experience on if you can avoid those situations. It did want to jump, okay? That's because of the speeds that it's going to get. But 10 seconds and under, which is usually what you're going to be shooting at, stability is just, it's on the money. Shoots very similar to the SS34, which says a lot for me, because that was one of my favorite bows from last year, something I hunted with at the beginning of this year, and still is probably one of the bows that's most memorable in my head. This is right there. Let's do a quick 50. Bows usually speak for themselves. You know, and you guys have seen me shoot, so you have seen the, you know, especially if you've followed and watched a lot of videos, you've seen the variance and the immediate, you know, shot ability from the beginning. Again, as I progress through the day, every bow that we shoot, it's even with one day, I'm a lot more consistent at the very end of this day than I would be at the beginning. And one day maybe we'll do that. We'll do like a before and after, because I put reps through these. I'm talking about 200 shots before we sit down and give it a review. And then you got some that right from the beginning, they just, effortless comes to mind. They're giving you guys something special here. Okay, I'm telling you. So performance is not a question to me at this point. This speed test to me is just gonna kind of be like a bonus. It gets good speeds. I'm excited to see exactly what it's gonna get with the arrow grainage that I typically hunt with or hunt around. So we have 500 grain arrow. This is the one we'll give the grade with, 30 inches, 70 pounds. $277. Okay, so again, as we've all, you know, as you've heard me say several times, 280 is my target. That is perfection. Okay, I've been hunting with a slightly lighter grain RIP TKO, maybe 473. So that would even bump up to maybe about 285, which is just right there, right where I want to be. I think the combination and kind of this middle ground that they found with this bow is perfect. Awesome stability, which is all that matters in the end. The draw cycle is pleasant to shoot. You get flagship quality like we mentioned, and then you get a great speed. We do these reviews to create separation amongst a vast sea of bows, especially if you're brand new to archery. I mean, this has to be helpful. You know, there is so much, and every year too now. Where do you go? Where do you navigate to? How do you make a decision? Ultimately, what is closest to you that you can test shoot? Some shops might only carry some bows. But in case you want to venture off, you don't have the ability to shoot it, which is not what I'm going to recommend. Some of these reviews might be helpful in making that decision. This bow, at my draw length at 70 pounds, this is a awesome choice for a hunting rig. I would say 3D archery. Just all around, this is a great bow for the price. $277. I'm just gonna go ahead and give it that 7 out of 10. It would have been nice to see it above 280 because I think it deserves as many points as possible. Not that that grade really matters in the end, but let's go a lighter arrows. This one's 440 grains. That's 303. That is a drastic jump. Let me shoot one more. I feel like it shouldn't be that much, but let's just double check. 292. I think 292 is probably more around. So 292, that is awesome for a 440 grain arrow. And now let's go 560 grains. Same 300 spine full metal jacket, but with a brass insert. 266. So again, combination all around, absolute perfect. The crazy part to me is the price. So let's go ahead, let's flip this around. We'll get the sound test. I think it's gonna be right there in the middle, maybe 90s, 91 decibels, but we'll see here. So now we'll do our 3 arrow decibel reading. Not something that I've noticed. And again, I've enjoyed shooting this so much, it's been hard to kind of like pay attention to everything, but the sound hasn't been something that I thought about until right now. But I think it's probably gonna be right there in the middle. Yep, 91. .9. Let's go ahead and shoot that final one. I was thinking be right there in the 90s, which is kind of the middle of all bows that we've shot. We've gotten a fluctuation from 87 all the way up to 94. Quiet, quick, comfortable. All right, Prime Ronan. This was a fun bow to shoot today. It was a fun bow to review. I love getting things in here that I know people are going to appreciate. And the price points on this matched with the quality and performance, you can't beat it. This is definitely one of my, if not my favorite budget style bow there is. And the only thing about it that's budget is the cost. We'll go straight from the top, 277, 7 out of 10 for the speed. That's at 30-inch draw, 70 pounds, 500 grain arrow. Every 10 feet per second, you get a point. So between 270 and 279, you get a 7 out of 10. I wish it would have got 280. I think it deserves an 8 out of 10 and as many points as it can get. Quality, I gave it an 8, okay? That was kind of like my standard aluminum bow standard. We've kind of bumped it up and given some of the other bows a 9. I think everything on this is some of the best quality you can get. I think an 8 is a very fair, accurate grade. The riser, even though it's different, I know somewhere on it, maybe in the manufacturing process, they were able to get the price down. I don't think they cut out on the quality. I think it's a very, very nice quality. If I had to create a little bit of splitting hair separation between the RVX and the Ronan, it's that 1 point. So an 8 out of 10 there. 9 out of 10 on appeal. This thing is slick. I love the gray they brought back. I love the the blackout options. I love all Prime's color. Morel from Prime is probably one of my favorite. I love the Grizzly Brown. They do some of the best colors, I think. Some of the best finishes. Technology, this is where kind of like people will argue with me with technology. You would say this isn't very technological advanced, but I think the stability, which factors the most, comes from the technology that's built into this bow. Okay, the center grip, the core cams, I think that's like plays a huge factor in the stability. I loved the longer axle to axle. I think the RVX 34 instead of the 32, I mean, I would just love to shoot that. That 2 extra inches on this thing just made it as crisp as you can get. You saw outside, I can dial those pins down so quickly and you just snipe. The bow does the work. It makes you, I've said this several times, some bows just make you feel like a good archer. But it's crazy also to think the technology of Prime, they have like the most technological advanced cam systems. Maybe not, I think just technologically complicated, complex cam systems to some of the most simple cam systems. And they just kind of like took a step backwards, went back to simplicity, and I think that they're like on point. I love Prime and what they're doing. They add a little technology where needed to kind of accommodate some of us hunters and the preferences we like with the Picatinny rail, but for the most part, it is very basic and simple, which I do not think is a negative when it comes to compound bows and archery. I love that. Performance, I went ahead and gave it a 9. I matched the RVX. This thing is the best performing budget bow we've had in here, the best quality budget bow we've had in here, and it's a little bit more expensive than some of the other ones, but not a lot. I feel like it's so worth it to just save a couple extra $100 and to go with this if you're still trying to get under that 1,000. I got that CB Micro Tactic, which I love. You can make those micro adjustments. It's like $85 for this sight. It's a perfect little sight. You can do any stabilizer. You could throw a Whisker Biscuit on this thing. It performs so well. And you could probably set up under $1,000 almost or right above. I think that's I think Prime did us a great favor with this bow. I appreciate them sharing it with us here at Backyard Bows. I think this is probably one of the best bows on the market for the price. You can't beat it. Prime Ronan, this is incredible. Today was fun. Hopefully you found something in this review that was helpful to you in your bow buying process. Make sure you follow us on all of our platforms and get all of the new information of what's going to be coming out next and follow along. Make sure above all else, no matter what you're shooting, what your setup is, get your reps in on the daily. We'll see you next week.